nothing we can do?
You have to not only change hearts, but you have to change minds.
That's why Maze focuses on empathy as light in the darkness.
But stresses racial fault lines don't run just through North Minneapolis.
They run deep within all of us.
We're all the same person, like God made us equally, and we all bleed the same color blood.
But some residents say a lot of the posts about suspicious characters end up targeting people of color, including some of the neighbors.
Black male hoodie walking by, be careful. Black male making a U-turn, it seems suspicious, be on the lookout for this car.
Shakira Porter lives in Oakland's Diamond District. Porter says it reminds her of the kinds of prejudices some folks still have about people of color, prejudices that are rarely spoken but often felt.
You know, the times that I've been profiled, I've been doing very normal things. And so what that message to me says, it just doesn't matter what I'm doing, that I'm a threat. And so this way I have to really contort and dance and be less threatening in the world is exhausting, you know, and then the internalized racism that then, you know, becomes lodged in me, then I have to work at dislodging that. It's a lot of work being a person of color who has to continually prove that they're safe, continually prove that they're okay and that they deserve to be there.
In a sport where individuals hide behind the veil of a helmet, Michael Sam went outside of his comfort zone and shared something with his teammates that would change the dynamic of their relationship and the course of the 2013 season.
I just got up there, told my team, my name is Michael Sam. I'm from Hitchcock, Texas. My major is sport management. I'm a defensive end, and I'm gay.
And everybody sink down in their chairs man, did you hear what Mike just said, man? And that's kind of what it was. And then after the meetings, everybody getting ready to go into the team meetings, you hear nothing but whispering in the hallways, man, Michael Sam just told us he gay.
LaDamian and Marvin, they knew I was gay for a couple years now. They're the only ones I talked about my personal life. No one else besides LaDamian and Marvin.
We were hanging out one summer, and he says, by the way, I'm gay. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, I kind of already knew that. He's like, yeah, I kind of figured you knew, but I just wanted to make it known. And LaDamian, he basically came out to LaDamian probably a couple of days prior to that.
Some guys can be more masculine, depending on where they are. Like one of the advisors at my school, Mr. T. He's gay and keeps it a secret from the students.
Do you consider yourself masculine?
Yeah, I do.
In what ways?
In certain settings, which I'm uncomfortable, and I can kind of switch it on and off. Many people don't want to be outed. I can't wear what I really want to wear to work, which I wear on the weekends.
Which is?
My God, labels like Oscar de la Renta and, Alexander McQueen, Ferragamo. I would love to wear that to work, but there's a time and place for everything.
Do you hate living like that?
Hate, no, because I know that a little sacrifice kind of goes a long way.
Please welcome to the stage our 2016 RTDNA Kaleidoscope Award winners. In the small market radio category, Pat Duggins, news director at Alabama Public Radio in Tuscaloosa, for their piece, Civil Rights, Gay Rights. In the network television category, producer Marquise Daisy from ESPN Films for their piece, SEC Storied, Tigers Unlimited. In the online news organization category, the Center for Public Integrity for their piece, Criminalizing Kids and the Environmental Justice, Denied. The Center for Public Integrity could not be here, and we proudly accept on their behalf. In the large market television category, reporter Adrian Broaddus from CARE TV in Minneapolis for their piece, CARE 11 News. In the network radio news category, WNYC Radio Rookies for their piece, Not the Right Kind of Gay. Radio Rookies could not be with us this evening. In the small market television category, anchor and reporter Amy Lacey from WRIC-TV in Richmond, Virginia for their winning piece, Living Transgender in RVA. And finally, in the large market radio category, KQED for their piece, So Well Spoken. KQED could not be here with us this evening. Let's give another round of applause to all of our 2016 Kaleidoscope Award winners. Let us begin with the John F. Hogan Distinguished Service Award, which honors those who model the principles that we stand for as journalists, men and women who serve our craft and defend the First Amendment. Hogan Award winners are an exclusive group, including Frank Stanton, our first honoree in 1956, as well as Walter Cronkite, Hugh Downs, Laura Logan, Jorge Ramos, and many more, including 2013's honoree Belva Davis, the first black female anchor in the Western U.S., and last year's winner, ABC's Pierre Thomas. John F. Hogan founded RTDNA more than 50 years ago and served as our first president. The award that honors his name honors the distinguished service of a journalist who makes outstanding contributions to our profession and to the First Amendment. Jeff Marks started his career in radio in his hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. He's a graduate of the University of Kentucky and worked in Louisville at WHAS in both radio and TV. He said he next got an opportunity that he wasn't ready for, but he made the best of it. As EP at WJLA in Washington, D.C., a TV station that was on the second floor of a strip mall above the Rexall drugstore. That job eventually led him to his first news director gig at WCSH in Portland, Maine, eventually becoming GM of a station, WLBZ, in Bangor, Maine. The moves up the ladder for Jeff continued, working in New Jersey for Cablevision, corporate VP for the News 12 group, then in 2005 to work for the talented Marcy Burdick at Schurz Communications, managing stations in Augusta and then in Roanoke. Prior to the shootings a year ago in Roanoke, when so many of us saw Jeff on the evening news or leading news conferences as the live coverage continued of the tragedy there, before all of that, Jeff had decided to retire. But I'm sure that what the new owners of his station saw that day and in the days since was leadership. It's what we see today. Gray Television thought it best to offer Jeff a new job as Director of Talent Development, where he offers Gray TV employees training on everything from leadership to punctuation. Jeff would like me to say that what people know about him is that he's brilliant and handsome. What I know about Jeff Marks is what Mr. Hogan would see in him, what RTDNA sees in him routinely. Distinguished service, someone who makes outstanding contributions to our profession, someone who even on the darkest day reminded us of our roles as leaders in our communities and in the community of journalists.
I'm just devastated that what happens elsewhere, whether it's a school in Connecticut or a movie theater in Colorado, now happens to us.
So our folks, choking back the tears this morning, went on the air and covered the news. And we're going to keep doing that.
We marched together, putting one foot in front of the other, mourning our loss, never forgetting Allison and Adam, and realizing that they died in the performance of their duty, and we are not going to shirk that duty as we go forward.
When Jeff called me that morning, I happened to be in Missouri, and I just got in my car and started to drive towards the St. Louis airport. Got the first plane that I could and got to Roanoke about 4 o'clock that afternoon. The station itself looked like a crime scene. It was surrounded by police officers blocking all the entrances. The parking lot was full of satellite trucks from all across the country. But the front of the station was beginning to look like a monument. People were coming in streams from the community to leave flowers, to leave food, to leave cards. And in the middle of it, the person who had to manage it all was Jeff Marks.
Jeff Marks is a native of Lexington, Kentucky, and that's where he started his broadcasting career as a radio reporter.
We had a staff that was industrious, enterprising, competitive, and yes, ambitious. And Jeffrey Marks was a member of that staff, and he had all those qualities. And by the way, there have been 5 people inducted into the Kentucky Journalism Hall of Fame from that staff, and Jeff is among them.
If it's important to you, it's on Action 11 next.
He made the move to television at WHAS.
This is News 7 Tonight.
And after producing in Kentucky and Washington, D.C., he would head to Maine as a news director.
So Jeff was the news director, and I was the sales manager at WCSH-TV in Portland, Maine. This is like 83 or 1984. And we had always been the #2, sometimes distant #2 news station until Jeff got there. And then the ratings really started to move very, very quickly.
Jeff served as a general manager in Maine, New Jersey, and Georgia before arriving in Roanoke in 2007.
I want this station to continue to be a place where people have to go to get the real story.
Anyone who meets Jeff is first struck by how smart he is. But what I quickly learned about Jeff is that he's not just book smart, he's also people smart.
Jeff was by my side when we had to make that awful announcement, and I remember the words he used.
It is my very, very sad duty to report.
And it was his duty, and he took that duty upon himself and did what had to be done and represented the station during the darkest time ever.
I'm Tom Brokaw, and I would like to add my voice to the many who are praising the work, the professionalism, and the longtime career of Jeffrey Marks. No news director in America ever had a greater test.
Jeff stepped up as a leader at WDBJ, a leader in the community, and helped bring some level of reconciliation and brought a real sense of passion to a tragedy that was frankly unspeakable.
You can't prepare for the kind of tragic event that took place at WDBJ in Roanoke. That's when character, experience, and humanity shine through. Everyone who knows Jeff Marks knew that in such a horrible situation, he was exactly the right person at the right time.
And Jeff was able to tell the story of not just the incident, but why these 2 young journalists working in local television mattered. Why what they did every single day made a difference, and how it manifested itself in the hundreds, if not thousands, of people who continued to come to the station to help. He told the story of local journalists and local journalism making a difference in the lives of their communities. I don't know anybody else who could have done it. And I don't know how, as an organization and as professional journalists, you say thank you for that.
Jeff's always been a great friend, so I'm prejudiced, but I think he represents the best of our business, not just on that tragic day, but throughout his entire career.
You've earned all these rewards you're receiving. Congratulations.
I can't think of anyone more deserving of the John Hogan Award than Jeff Marks, not only for his grace under pressure, but also for a lifetime of excellence and public service. Congratulations, my friend.
So, Jeffrey, we're very proud to share broadcast journalism with you. I've known about your great work for a long time. I'm sorry that it came to that on that terrible, terrible morning. But if anyone had to be in charge, you were the man. And we all learned from you, and at the same time, we shared your sorrow. So my very best wishes for this well-deserved recognition.
Jeffrey, when Steve Kappas and I heard that you were going to receive the John F. Hogan Award this evening, we were so thrilled and couldn't have imagined a better recipient for the award this year.
Scott and I wanted to do this together, Jeff, because you came to CBS News days after those horrific events there in Roanoke, and I was honored to represent CBS at the memorial services for Allison and Adam. But your leadership during that time came through loud and clear. So this is an honor to your leadership, to the way that you helped all of us, frankly, envision the right way to salute Adam and Allison and also keep our eye on the issues at hand.
Jeff, the Hogan Award, of course, has been bestowed on great leaders of our industry like Walter Cronkite and Frank Stanton, David Sarnoff, and you are a worthy member of that exalted group. You reached out to your community and to your own people with grace and clarity, and you have become an example to us all in our industry. For that, we are very grateful. So for Steve Kappas and I and all of us at CBS News all around the world, congratulations.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present the 2016 John F. Hogan Distinguished Service Award to Jeff Marks. Here's the actual plaque.
Thank you. Couldn't they get anybody decent to say anything about me? I've got to say, as gratifying as all that is, for anyone to put me in a class with Sarnoff and Stanton and Cronkite is hyperbole of the first order. And to you young people here, if you do not know who those people were, please find out, because they were Norm Fine. How are you? They were the people who inspired those of us of this generation. I will speak only briefly because I am overwhelmed by this. This is not what I expected, and I am so honored by the action of the RTDNA board. I have been involved with RTDNA for more than 30 years and love everything that this organization has done to further the First Amendment over the years. And by the way, if we go back to 1946, it actually wasn't RTDNA because there was very little T around. It was our NDA. And I met John Hogan. A few of us in this room might have been at the 1986 convention. I think that's when it was that we were celebrating 40 years of RTDNA. And John Hogan, who lived in Hawaii, flew over, and a number of us got to meet him. And it was really an honor because when he founded RTNDA, or RNDA, he was working as the news editor at WCSH Radio in Portland, Maine, where I was at that time the television news director. So it was a really fabulous circle. And because of his inspiration in 1945-46 to get in touch with a whole bunch of other radio news editors and say, let's put an organization together, we're here today. It was an honor to meet him. He died a couple of years later, and I'm glad I had that opportunity. I want to thank all of you who sent emails and cards and meals and everything, tweets and good wishes to us a year ago. It was an unbelievable outpouring, and it meant everything. And I want to mention that I wouldn't be here today if it were not for the inspiration from my wife, Roxanne, who is sitting over here, a fine school teacher who taught me everything I know about teaching so that I could actually be considered for this job of Director of Talent Development at Gray. Thank you, dear. I'm also honored to share the stage with the Paul White winner, Charlie Rose. A few minutes ago, Donna Francavilla was interviewing him in the green room, and she asked about interviewing and news, and he said, it's all about curiosity. And I don't want to blow out what he's may say, but I'm going to come back to that theme in just a moment. But Charlie, of course, never fakes it. He does his homework. He has no fear of holding people accountable. And his work for the last few years on CBS This Morning has contributed to its becoming an outstanding news program. I want to leave two thoughts with you. Journalism is a safe profession. What happened in Moneta, Virginia a little over a year ago frightened us all. It caused many of us to make changes in how we cover the news, how we embed ourselves in our buildings, how we react to threats. And that's good, because some of those practices needed to be tightened up. But I want you to remember that that horrible incident happened not because these people were journalists, although they were doing their jobs at the time, but because a former employee took out his anger and his depravity on two people from his old workplace. The only connection to journalism was that he was able to play out his violent delusion on live television. So instead, I'd like to focus on the fact that this is a safe and wonderful profession to go into. But along with being protected, as we generally are as journalists in this country, both from intrusions on the First Amendment and on intrusions on ourselves, we have an obligation, and I know you hear this every year at RTDNA, but I want to say not only to the young people here and the senior journalists here, and also the faculty members here, that